Hello my creative friends, this is your tutor Anjali Tamde and today I'm going to show you how to do this stunning macrame cake. Now we all know macrame is a crafting technique obtained by creating knots and tying them all together to get something like this. I'm going to show you how to get that in cakes using sugar paste, that is the Saracino Pasta model. So let's get started with doing something like this, that too without the use of any molds. I have tried to incorporate various macrame techniques, simple techniques like knots, loops, tassels, braids, and much more. I wanted you all to explore and try to see how the sugar macrame works with everyone. So let's get started with that. Now, things that you would need for getting started with our macrame cake is some cornstarch, brush for gluing stuff. I have a knife cutter here, but any knife would do. To cover my cake, I have used this, the Saracino Pasta top, that's the rose color, and it's a lovely pink color. Now, I have a tip here in case you're running out of colors and you just are having white pasta top there. You could add tiny bits of gel colors to obtain that particular color. Now, yes, this would take you ages to do and at times it could get messy, but yes, you can indeed create different shades. Or if you want a lighter pink, what you could do is mix the white pasta top with the pink and get a lighter shade of pink pasta top there. So this is what I have used to cover my cake there. Now, the most important thing that we need is the Saracino pasta model. Now, this is a 5 kg tub that I have here and it's white. You get smaller tubs and packets as well. So it's completely up to you what you need and what's your requirement. But to be honest, the 5 kg tubs are really handy. So grab your hands whenever you get those 5 kg tubs. Now, you also need few more things like rolling pins, your mats, and all the its and bits, which I have mentioned in the comment box in the list there, so that you can get started with what you need and you can prepare before you start doing this cake here. To begin with, we will need obviously our cakes. Now I have 3 tiers here, as you can see, that I have covered with Saracino pasta top here. Now these are dummy cakes that I'm using and I used the white pasta top, mixed it with some red gel color to get this light pink shade here. You can use any pre-mix colors because Saracino has got pretty good colors in their palette there. So whatever your preference would be, you could use any of the colors because macrame looks good even on a white cake. It looks good on a dark cake. It looks good on a lighter cake like this. So it's absolutely fine with whatever colors you want to go with. Now I'm going to go with some white macrame on this and pink was my preference here. Now the middle tier here, I have used cake cards for each of my tiers. Now this cake here has a baseboard, but this one I have put, and this one here, I've put cake cards underneath, and the cake card has been covered with the pasta top even on the bottom to give that neatness there. So let's start with stacking our cakes now and with our macrame. Apply some distilled water on your tier here. You could also use edible glue. gently lift your cake there. Place it on. Like this. Now make sure that you check this from all the sides. Before you place your cake, that it's even from all the sides. You could also use dowels in between, but I am not going to use dowels here because this cake is slightly bigger than the bottom tier down here, and I wanted to cover the cake card with the pasta top there. So I left the cake like this, and it's going to glue it very well because the pasta top does glue onto the base there, and it will hold my cake well. Now the top tier, now let's apply some water or edible glue on the top here, and gently lift your place it this way. Make sure it's in proportion and in line. So if you need to measure, you could do that. Slightly move if you need to. Okay, so now our cake here is ready for the macrame decoration. Let's begin with that. For the decorations, I'm going to use some Saracino sugar paste here. So this is the pasta model that it's called, and once again it's white, so just knead it a bit, warm it up, and let's start rolling it. Okay, I'm going to use my Dresden tool, and using the pointy end here, gently start drawing. Now if you are not comfortable drawing freehand like this, you could use up a stencil or even a lid. So for instance, I could just use up this lid and place it and slightly press to get that semicircle there. So basically I need 1/2 circle to begin with. Dust a bit of cornstarch on your mat and start rolling. Now there are multiple ways that you could roll your sugar paste here. You could roll with your palms the way I'm rolling. You could use your cake smoother and go to and fro, but I love using my hands, and this is how I would want to do it. You can also use an extruder if you have one. That saves a lot of time, and you would get the same size of your cord here. So just roll it like this. Break it from one end. Hold it in the center and start twisting. This way. You can also use impression mats or molds for ropes. Now we will paste it on top of our cake, the semicircle that we have drawn. So let's start gluing this part there. Apply a bit of glue. And paste it. This way. We'll go with one more in the same manner. Similarly, you'll put one more of that rope there. Once you've done that, use your pointy end of your Dresden tool and just draw one X there. Apply some edible glue and paste your rope. Similarly, on the other end, this way, gently press in the middle there and trim. Use tiny bit of glue here and in the center here, just to secure it well. Now, once again, apply some glue and paste your rope. Now, I'm not going to trim that extra there. I'm going to put the other one. Like this. Again, apply a bit of glue. Apply a bit of glue and gently press this. Now the next one would be something like this. Don't trim off the extras at the moment. You just trim off for the first one because we need that accurate size there. But after that, wait until you put few extra ones here before you trim. And press. So now I'm going to chop this extra. Okay, so you know how it's going to go. It's going to go right up to the top here now, this way. Before that, we need to paste this one like this. And this goes we need a tiny piece here that goes. I was trying to use up my leftover, but I think I need a new one, so it is really handy if you make some of these pieces and then start putting them over onto your cake. That way you would save up your time. You know, if you're making one and putting that, it's going to take quite a long time. So I would recommend you to make some of them and keep it in an airtight container, and then just start using them onto your cake. Okay. Now you always have some time to fiddle around, you know, once you have put that. So if you feel that they are not exactly in the position you want them, you can always change that. Okay, now let's start putting them here, and with this. Now on the other end, apply a bit of glue and paste your card there. And then it goes up here. This way. I haven't applied glue here because I'm going to trim that off once I have glued all of these ones. And one here. So the last one, I think we'll extend it from both ends up there. So tiny bit of glue here and here. Similarly on the other end. Now we need one more that goes up here. way. I like building up my pattern on the cake like this rather than drawing that entire pattern, but obviously uh, it's again your preference. If you feel it's comfortable for you to draw it out and then just start pasting everything, it's one way. I prefer doing it the way I would do my macrame, you know, the way you go on with those cords there. I prefer doing the cake in the similar manner and try to build up my pattern there. So this one, I'm going to put it like this here. And press it. Similarly on this end here, and then we'll trim it off in that semicircle there. So let's finish this off here. Apply some glue. And paste this. This way. Now let's see if we need one here. We definitely need one small piece here, so let's put this. This way. Okay, now we need to make another rope that's going to go all the way in that half circle from here to here. So let's make that rope, put it up, and then we'll see what we need though, you know, with these extra bits here and there. So let's do that. Let's finish this. So we are going to place and here. Same thing on the other end there. It's really calming and it's so much fun. I just enjoy doing this. It's equally good, you know, the way you do your macrame. If you love macrame, you would definitely love doing this cake. and it's not very difficult. So you just have to make your ropes and start putting them up in place. Okay, let's move on to the next step now. Now, just apply a bit of glue. Around your pattern. And hold your cord and check if you feel it's correct. Start gluing it from one end. So just press it gently on one end here and keep going like this. Keep going this way right up to this point here and press. Now, using your Dresden tool, you are going to shape it. So now, I might just trim a bit here and get this in. Similarly, I would trim a bit here and get this inside here. Same thing, trimming a bit and pushing this inwards. Like this. Now we'll fill up these gaps that we have. So let's press and glue this one here. One more piece that would go up here. Now trim that excess. Now your next piece would go up from there right up to this end here. And piece up here. This way. You can see how lovely the pattern is looking already. Now some pieces that we need to fill up the gaps out here. So there would be one here, and maybe here, and these ones. So let's finish those off before we move on to the next stage. Now the best way to measure this would be using your measure tape and starting from the center here, you need to check if the radius from here to here and from here to here, if they both are same. This stage you have time to move and fiddle around with your cord here because it's still wet and you can make changes. So I would recommend you to measure from this end and from here to here. I have made few thinner strands here. Now again, I have used an extruder here to make these thin strands just because they are really handy to make thinner ones, you know, and quicker as compared to the bigger ones there. So just make thinner strands like these and get them in set of 4 and just twist it around gently. Something like this. Now we are going to use a small bit of it and put it up in the center there. So we will be putting it in each of the crosses there. Let's do that. Now apply some glue on the crosses there. And put it over the cross there. Now use your Dresden tool to push it right in like this so that it looks nice and neat. Similarly, the next one. And push it in. It does make a difference when you add this. It gives that intricate weaving look. You know, the macrame looks quite intricate when you start adding all the details there. Again, it's really handy when you make few strands and you have those ropes ready for your finishing. It's much quicker rather than doing each one and then trying to put one there. So you basically need to be a bit organized when you're doing this. Make all your ropes and keep it in a Ziploc bag. And then when you start decorating your cake, just trim those ropes and use them on your cake. So you can see how it gives that knot look there. Now, let's finish off these few bits here. Apply edible glue. Make sure you tuck it nice and in there, so that when you look at your cake from sides, it looks really neat. And it should not look as if you've glued something on top. It should look as if you really knotted something there. Now, if you don't have an extruder and you're not good enough to do finer ones like this, I mean to say, if you can't get them even, I would give you an idea here. A tip here that you could use is a garlic press there. And that's really handy. So a garlic press would do the job of having finer ones, even when you're making figurines and you're trying to do those finer bits like the hair or something like that, you could use the garlic press. Okay, now just a few more here, so I'm going to finish those and then we will start with the tassels and rest of the decorations there. Now, as you can see, I have my tassels here that I have formed using an extruder. So I just have them in sets at the moment so that I can put up my tassels. Now, you could do like one set that goes out of your extruder and just trim off with, having a bit of extra there. If you're doing with your hands, again, you really have to be good enough and fast, the way you would do noodles and stuff like that. Now, another tip that I could give you here is, if you don't have a garlic press, or if you're not used to using garlic press or an extruder, you could try using a pasta machine there, and you would get those nice fine strips of your sugar paste there, and you could just put them in the similar manner. So now I just have few of them that I'm going to use on the cake there. So let's get started with putting these tassels up on the cake. Now gather them up together like this, and use a bit of glue, and we are going to start from this edge here. Using your scissors, you're going to give a curved or a slant trim because we want to put it over here. Now, before you put, you're going to pinch this like so, and then now leave a little extra. We will trim that later, so we need that bit of extra there, like this. Similarly, the next one. Now always remember that make all your tassels first and then start putting them up on your cake. So again, you're pinching and putting it up here like this. Okay. So if it's falling, just put it right back there and press it. Now just leave it like this. Let's put the next one. Once again, you are. So this time it's not that deeper, that curve here. So trim it according to that. And oopsie daisy. Okay. This one here seems to keep falling apart. Now it won't. Okay, gently place it there. Now the next one. Now this one I'm just cutting it straight here because it doesn't need any curve out there. a bit of glue. And press it like this. Now the next one, same thing. Again, just give it a straight cut and pinch it like this. Press it onto your cake. Now for this side, you're going to trim it this way, and once again pressing it. Now when you're gluing, make sure that you're not pressing your fingers too hard on the cake, because you will have finger impressions on your cake otherwise. And our final one. So press it and put it together. This way. Again, take a small piece and just roll in a thin. So we are making our card once again. Like this. And then just twist. So when you're twisting, make sure you're holding it here. And then you're turning it like this. Okay, like this, and it's going around your tassels there. Apply a bit of glue around your tassels. Now I am going to cut this and then put it up. Okay, so it goes up like this. And I'm going to make it a little smaller. This way. tiny bit of glue. Similarly, the rest of them. And chop it off. Now the other side. And we need one small piece up here. Like this. Now, I'm actually going to give a nice good trim to my tassels out here. So you can decide what shape you want here. So you could go with a nice curvy one there. I am actually thinking of a V shape there. But remember, don't, just like your haircut, don't go too deep at your first go. Start from tiny bits, and then when you're sure, start trimming all the extra there. So I'm going to leave a little extra and give a slant trim there. And this is what I love about Saracino. It gives you ample amount of time to work with it. And you can just play around with it. So making macrame cake or making any kind of cake would be a lot simpler when working with Saracino. All right, now let's level everything up. Okay, so I am going to start with the center one here. Slightly slant, slant, and a slant trim. Similarly, one slant snip here. It's really fun, I have to say. I totally enjoy this. Okay. Now, and you can decide how you want to trim it, even maybe after a couple of hours. You can wait and watch how it looks, with this kind of trim. And if you want to go with that deeper V trim, that, as I mentioned, or you want to keep it nice and curvy. It's completely up to you. Now, I think at the moment I'm going to leave it like this because I'm loving it like this. And the reason I went for a taller cake for my bottom tier was because I wanted tassels here. So I am going to leave it like this for now and start on with the other decorations. Once again, I have my tassels here and I'm going to braid them this time. So just divide them roughly into 3 equal parts. And I am actually going to trim this bit here. Now, just separate all of them, gather them together. And pinch it on the top. Now, exactly the way we would braid. You are loosely braiding it together. This way. Make sure you are really nice and gentle when you're doing this. This is how you're going to braid. And then obviously you can use this braid wherever you want. So I'm going to show you exactly where I'm thinking of using this braid. I'm going to make one more braid here and then we'll start putting it up on the cake. Making up your braid in sugar paste is really easy. Make sure your hands are not sticky. If this is sticking onto your hands, use a bit of cornstarch. And that should avoid all the sticking. So here's another braid. Once your braids are ready, chop off that excess from the top there. Leave this at the moment. Now, mark the center point of your cake here and apply a bit of glue on the other end of your braid. Okay. And go on the sides like this. Be very gentle when you're pressing. We don't want that beautiful pattern there to be smudged. Tiny bit of glue. And this. So we have to cut in shape for both of them to, fix in well with each other. But we'll do that once we have glued it. I don't want to trim it before that. So I'm going to have a bit of overlapping with both the braids here. Once again, tiny bit of glue. And gently press it. Now, one straight cut in the center and this way. We're fixing both the braids together. Once you're happy with the placement, trim off that extra there. Similarly, here. Trim that extra bit and just make it nice, neat and tidy. Using the pointy end of your Dresden tool, just lightly draw an inverted triangle over here, leaving a little gap in between, and apply a bit of glue on both the sides. Once again, form a rope and gently glue it now. Give a straight cut here. Cut the other rope and I'm going to keep a little extra, as I always say, I like to trim it on the cake there. So I'm going to trim off that extra there. And then with your Dresden tool, merge. Trim off that extra bit from the top. Same thing on the other side. Like so. Now cut tiny pieces of your rope there, and we are going to put them here. So we're going to space them equally. I'm just going to apply glue in this portion here, and with your Dresden tool, just get it in shape. You could use tweezers if you find it difficult to lift these tiny pieces. They're really handy. So you're going to space them equally. This way. So you can see all of them are standing. They are not going in the slant direction. So I want them all at that 90-degree there. Sort of they're falling straight down from here. Like this, and the last two going up here. Around here. Like this. Okay, now let's finish the edges. So apply some glue on the edges here. Now it's completely up to you if you want to go with your rope all over the edges, or you just want to show your rope over here, like, where you worked with that macrame. So both, either ways, it's going to look good. Now I'm just going to chop this edge here. Now whenever you start, always make sure that you start from the back. And go around. This. And just trim off that bit there. Now luckily my rope was long enough to fit that entire circumference, but if you are falling short of your rope, or if you can't make a rope this long, make them in maybe 2 or 3 different parts and join them. Now wherever you have a join, make sure you blend it well. One more tip that I would give you is, if you can't blend, or if you can see those joints in between, what you could do is make smaller bits of your ropes, and the place where you're joining it, just put a knot. So it would look like you have a macrame knot there, and that's kind of a design there. So these are the little things that you could do to, always try to hide if you have any flaws, or if there is something that, is not looking that neat. Just try to cover it with something, but don't overdo that. Okay. Now, I am also going to put up a rope up here. So let's do that. Apply some glue. On the top tier. Now lift your rope and so this is smaller than your bottom tier there, so it's going to be a lot easier, and you can actually have it in one go. And then just trim off that extra bit. Like this. So this is how you would glue it. And although you might feel that the sharp edges are not visible, but they actually do make a difference. So make sure that your cake is having those nice edges there, and that the rope is only for decoration purpose and not to hide how you have done your edges there. all the little things that add on to the beauty of your cake. And most important thing is that you're enjoying doing that. Okay, now let's finish this bit here. Now, to decorate this part here, you need to think of a design, what could go. Now, obviously, if you're inspired through any of the designs, yes. But if you want to go with something that you want to do on your own, you could go with something like this, a semicircle, and then decorate it. Or now, because we are doing everything in V pattern here, I would go with something that's triangular or V. So I'm thinking of starting maybe from this point here, not from the top there, and having my tassels going all the way like this. So I'm going to do those tassels here. Now again, I have these tassels that I have formed using an extruder, but again, you don't have to have an extruder. As I mentioned, you could use a garlic press instead, and it does the same job. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim that bit and chop off that top there. Now this might be a little extra, so I'm going to see if, yes, it is a little extra, but I'm going to leave it. So I'm going to start gluing it up. Now what I'm going to do is apply a bit of glue in this portion here, and I am going to I'm going to trim this extra bit here and pinch it up like this. With my Dresden tool, I am going to push everything in nicely and then chop off that bit there. Now once again, with your Dresden tool, tuck everything nicely behind your rope there, so that it looks like it's really going through there and not something that's glued on top. Similarly, you'll take another bunch, once again pinching it on the top there, leave a little gap and press it like this. With your Dresden tool, once again, you are going to tuck everything in first before you chop off. And push everything in there. So gently blend it when you're doing this. Like this. Take your next set of your tassels and put it on the other end. And gently tuck tuck it in. Like this. Now we'll go perhaps here and here as well. So take your next set and press. Need a bit of glue here. Like this, and trim off all those extra bits. So these are basically different techniques used in macrame. If you are used to doing macrame, you would know that you basically form that knot using your ropes, and your rope would be like a filler sometimes, you know. So you just run through tassels and then you start weaving again. So it could be a heavy pattern there, or it could be a loosely woven pattern. It depends on what you're going to use it. So when it comes to making cakes in macrame, I prefer the loosely woven pattern there, rather than the heavy knotting, because the in-betweens actually show your cake and the color, and it sort of gives that contrast. It looks good. So when you are choosing a macrame design for your cake, make sure it is a loosely woven pattern there. Now, you could go with finishing off with your ropes like this. You could finish it going up like this. I think I would prefer the tassels going up there because it looks sort of that continuation of the design there. So I am going to do it with my tassels. I'm going to go right up here. And blend it with your rope there. And my last bit that's going up here, blend it well. Like this. Now using a ball tool, in the center, just start going around to form that hole there, this way. And try to enlarge that hole a bit. Push this upwards like a drop shape. And then using your tassel there, just curl it and try to go over . Apply a bit of glue . This way, and trim off all that extra. Now with your Dresden tool, finish that rope well. Little things that add on to the details there, don't they? And with your ball tool, just get that in shape. Once again, you'll take some tassels here and just split them into few tassels like this, and pinch it from the top like this. Just like this, and with your scissors trim that bit. So tiny little tassels, and just keep them loose so that they look natural. Just a little bit of trim. So we'll make few tassels like this and start putting them up on our cake. Apply some glue. We'll start from the center and take your tassel there. With your Dresden tool, just blend it a bit. Similarly, our next one. So spacing it equally and leaving a little gap there. Just apply a bit of glue onto the tassel itself and like this. So remember to blend it. Again, your next one. And you could just mark the position with your Dresden tool before you start putting them if you are not convenient doing it straight away. But to be honest, it's pretty simple because you're just spacing them, and in case you feel you haven't spaced them well, you still have time to move them here and there. But yes, the safer way would be to mark the position before you put them. So and 2 more here. Make sure you're just pressing the tip here and not pressing the entire thing so that the tassels are hanging a bit and they look a little natural. Open up some strands. Let's do the other side now. Keep doing the same thing. We are nearly there. And this doesn't take too long, to be honest. We really don't need any kind of any molds or anything for doing up a macrame cake, because at times I've seen some people try to use molds for everything and they feel that might work faster, but I personally feel to unmold some of the intricate designs would take longer at times. So I would prefer doing things without using molds wherever possible. I mean, yes, there are things that you really need to use molds for, but there are a lot of things that you don't actually need molds, and macrame is one of them. Yes, I would say maybe, if you want to use molds for knitted pattern, yes, definitely you need a mold for that, but for macrame you can work your way without the use of your molds. So this is how it looks, and this is almost ready, I would say. We will put bits and bits. If you can always put something on the top, you can put something on the sides if you want. You can go on adding. Now you can create the same pattern on the other two sides as well. But for me, I think this looks nice and elegant. It's simple. The cake really works fast. It doesn't take too long. So I hope you all like doing macrame and enjoy working with it. So if you're good at making flowers, maybe, you could add up some flowers or something like that, if you want to gift it to a female, or if it's a female client there, you could add up all the details. If it's kind of a beach party, you could add up some sand texture and effect. You could add some shells, you could add some starfishes and things like that. You could use wafer paper decorations with this. You could just have few feathers and things like that, or you could just do a dream catcher, on the cake itself. It depends completely what you want to make the cake for, but macrame really goes well with so many different themes, and I have tried to incorporate different techniques that I would use in macrame. So, for instance, something like this, or the braiding, the tassels, and of course the knotting. That's a very prominent macrame technique that would be seen in cakes or in macrames. So this is something that I have done, and I hope you can create something out of your imagination with macrame. I hope you all enjoyed this session with me of creating this macrame cake here. Now, as you can see, I added few more decorations like the shells. Now, I made it using the pasta top again, but you could even use the Saracino modeling paste. Either ways, you can use anything that you would want. Now, the crumbles that you can see here, the sand that I have used is just biscuits that I have crushed and added, and I have dusted my shells with some dust colors there. This is something that I created to give a beach party effect, or that kind of cake that could be enjoyed on a beach, for a beach wedding perhaps. Now, as you can see, I created it on pink. There were two reasons I like pink, and because you could see the braid that I was creating on a pink cake. Because if I was using white on white, perhaps you wouldn't understand what I'm doing on the cake. You can do macrame on various colors there. You could go with darker shades, you could go with lighter shades, depending on what you're creating. So it's completely up to you how you want and how you want to display that macrame on your cake. But under any circumstances, macrame cakes look stunning. They don't take too long, and they really add that elegance to any cakes. I hope you all are going to try doing this, and don't forget to connect with us and send us your photos, your reviews, and your comments. Till then, take care and bye.